So welcome back everyone. If you saw my video last week, you know that I was fairly unsuccessful with capturing any birds last week from my photography blind. And I'm happy to report that since that video, and it's been about, what, 5 days now, I have a lot of activity at my bird feeders. So with that, the plan today, as I mentioned, was to build a platform that's just gonna be a, I don't know, midterm fix. It's not going to be a long-term thing. I'd like to build something more sturdy than what I'm going to build today, but for now it's going to be a good viewpoint and a good vantage point that I can see a little bit further out, probably like 100, 150 yards, more to capture things that I don't always see, like a deer, turkeys rolling through, you know, there might be, I'm not going to be out here at night, but bobcats, anything like that. So what I got to do is walk around the property, find a bunch of dead woods that all kind of have the same similar circumference, so I can build kind of a square base platform, and then I'll put some baseboards that I got in my garage on them. So right now, let's just go kind of walk around, find some fallen trees, and start cutting them up. You might be asking yourself, Liam, is that a saw in your hand? And the answer is yes. I'm gonna be doing this because I don't own a chainsaw right now. And I figure, as much as I need one, it's not worth spending around $400 just for this task, for this little chore today, because it's just gonna be short-lived, probably until the springtime when I can get something more sturdy and more permanent. We're starting to get to the area where I saw a bunch of fallen dead wood that looks to be here for quite some time. This is kind of roughly the width / circumference that I was going for, something that I can just kind of easily cut up and will be sturdy enough to support the blind itself, but also not something that I care about, because the area that I'm setting up the platform at is kind of right on the ridge, and all of the water from the snow melt off, from the rain itself, will all funnel down, and the land out here is very wet. This little spot is kind of going to be my little mushroom hunt area come the springtime and summer. But yeah, you can see a lot of ice, and that just kind of sits there in the sediment, and once the spring thaw comes, it's going to be wet. Again, temporary, but somewhat permanent, midterm permanency. I don't know if permanency is a word. The other thing is the length. So I'm assuming that a 6x6 roughly is going to be plenty big. I should have mentioned the width of my blind, but about there looks good. That is 2 down, 3 more to go. A couple weeks ago, we had a fairly significant storm roll through with wind gusts up to like 75, 70 miles per hour. And when we came out the next day, a lot of trees had fallen, ripped right out of their ground roots. This eastern white pine here didn't make it. It looked like it also had fallen right on a birch tree, so that's a shame. But someday this will be fuel for the wood stove in the house. Although I've got to go 1,000 feet that way to bring it out, so need an ATV now. Add that to the list. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I gotta walk them all the way up there. I think it's gonna be lunchtime after this. This would be a good time to say that this video is sponsored by peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. All right, so lunchtime is over, jacket's back on, starting to get cold. I'm gonna show you the area that we're gonna start to clear out. So this is the rough frame of what I'm trying to do. I'm definitely gonna need to prop some things underneath that. Hopefully I can find a rock or another dead tree that will level this all out. I'm gonna clear out some of these little, I don't know, winterberries or the bush here, just so I can have another view off behind me. But now I have a direct access to kind of the openness down this little creek, the creek bed here. So yeah, it's starting to come to fruition. What I figure I'll do is throw this on top just to help give it a little bit more of a height to it. Drill down this screw to help keep it in place. Got this insect activity. That's a pretty cool design right there. I'm just gonna make a cut here, flatten that edge out. That'll be like kind of like the middle support beam, if you will. I did have an oh shit moment and wondered if the width wasn't gonna be able to hold my blind on it, but I just measured it and my blind's roughly 48 inches wide and this is probably 52 inches wide or so, give or take. So crisis averted for now. What else can I mess up? So as you can see, this tree here is probably gonna come down. Pretty sure it's dead. It's just holding on for dear life up in that tree there. So gonna cut it down, give myself a little bit better view. Just a slight tap. But yeah, it's already significant better view. All right, so this is the scraps of wood that I just brought down. They're all somewhat different lengths, that's okay. I'll come out here later with a circular saw and make it all pretty looking. but it's got some screws in here, some excess parts. That's a nail, and I don't have a hammer on me, so that's gonna have to be facing down for the time being. Otherwise, let's get this project finished. We might actually be able to enjoy some birding. And of course, with any type of hack job that I'm doing today, it's gonna be not perfect. Looks like that's fairly even. It should hold with some screws. So I was gonna try to shave off a little bit, but that's close enough. All right, so I just realized as I was putting another drill bit in, this support beam needs to be going this way. One more step. Well, there it is. It does not look pretty. Like I anticipated, I did screw up a couple of screws, no pun intended. And there was a couple screws that I couldn't get out of these boards because they were all bent up. But I do have another plank to put in the spot at the end, although I think this is gonna suffice for the width of my bird blind. As I come up on it, the wood's a little bit softer than I anticipated, but I got some pretty good support underneath it. It's gonna be completely fine. I do question how it's gonna hold up as we start to warm up in the spring, but again, this is just a temporary thing, and I'm gonna devise a plan to make something that's a little bit more concrete and architecturally sound. But the good news is that I've given myself another 2 feet of height to see down into the creek, so I have a much better view of anything that might be down there. Hopefully I get some deer walking through. Hell, I'd take a porcupine, I'd take a skunk, I'd take some turkeys, whatever it might be. I'm also eye level with the tree that all the birds have been hanging out with, and I think now I can add, you know, more bird feeders in where I see fit, but right now I'm pretty excited with this. It did take a lot of work for it looking not very pretty, but it's doing its job, and that's all we can do in life, is just do our job. So I'm gonna go get the photography blind on here and see what it all looks like. I did think about how I'm going to tie this down because I tend to leave the blind out here if I don't need to bring it back with me. Figured I would just get some string that's not going to degrade, some type of, I don't know, fishing line, and just have that out here so when I do want to leave it out overnight, it will just be able to be tied down and it won't go anywhere when we do have some wind. But otherwise, if it's going to be raining, it's going to be snowing, sometimes I like to bring it inside, just help the longevity of the blind itself. So now for a quick tour of the place and the different sight holes that I got going on. There's 4 in here in this photography blind. A lot of people probably might wonder, it is the Tragopan Grouse V Plus. I've been very happy with it. It breaks down nice and small, so on days that I'm not just in my backyard, it travels light. So the first one is, of course, the direction that I'm facing out, the main viewing point. And as you can see, we're at the wide angle right now, but a nice view of the that ridge that I may have mentioned earlier, right back there. So I just have a better bird's eye view, a better sight line to see anything that might be traveling through the woods here, down into the creek. In the summer, this is all going to be ferns, so it's going to look pretty cool. And hopefully this creek stays running, so any type of animal might come through and use it as a watering hole. Off to our right, this is where my bird blind used to be, and my bird feeders are right about there. So I still can access the tree that a lot of those chickadees, titmice, were all hanging out in. And I'm, again, like I mentioned, definitely more straight on or at eye level with them. So I'm not going to be looking too much up into the tree, but it's a nice little option to have. Off to the right-hand side, we have this viewing hole. And what's cool about this spot is there's some dead trees here, specifically this one right in the center. And you can probably see that one woodpecker marking up on the right split of that dead wood there. So pretty cool option. Hopefully some woodpeckers come through. I did see it was either a downy or a hairy woodpecker today in the midst of building this and trying to also pay attention to what birds were coming to the feeders. Now off to the left side, we have just kind of like dense forest. But again, might be cool for spotting some squirrels or any other birds that might be jumping through the trees. And then lastly, the viewing hole right here behind me is kind of not going to be utilized a whole lot unless if I heard something coming from behind me. This is the direction of my house, so I suspect not too much activity will be coming down that direction, but it's always nice to have options. But plenty happy with that, that extra height that I'm going to be getting out of this new platform that I've built today. So I hope that you have enjoyed following along with this. I'll probably just end the video right around here, show you a few more clips of the blind itself, and I'm going to spend another 20-30 minutes out here just kind of seeing what I see. And I, of course, will show that here, and I'll also end the day with some of the photos that, now the chickadees are back, so perfect timing. But I'll end the day with some of the photos that I took throughout it, just so you can have that to get you excited for what's to come on this channel. Thank you for watching. If this is something that you enjoyed, I hope that you consider subscribing, leave a like, leave a comment. I try to get back to as many of them as I can. But thanks again, and I'll see you soon.